are under arrest, my lord.
I told you it would come to this. I was right.
Tall empires.
Taking over!
The oppression of
White empires
will never return. You have lost.
No, you are Gaia! I have the power to save the one you love. You must choose. Don't listen to him. Don't let him kill me. Help me.
I am going to end this once and for all.
You can't. He must stand trial.
He has control of
tech and economy.
He's too dangerous to be left alive.
He must live.
Please don't.
I need him.
No!
Slightly more.
Stellaris patch 3.3, that is the Libra update. It has been released. It's in our hands. We've been playing it for about a day and a half now, time of recording. And how does it all feel? Well, we were promised the return of Tall Empires. It was told that Tall Empires would get a fair shot. I've had a little bit of playing. I mean, we've been playing this in open beta for quite a while. And yes, unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, it does depend on your point of view here, but Wide have still won. They are still triumphant as the most powerful style of play in this game. Yes, their power has been somewhat limited by this update. Empire Sprawl does tap them with a little bit of a stick, but overall, that is still a much better way to play, and you are much more rewarded for playing a very wide empire than playing a very tall empire in Stellaris. So we definitely have not had that. Yes, there are many things we can now do with Unity. I'm not going to go through all of the Libra updates. This is a video about Stellaris Dev Diary 243 that has dropped, but the opening of that developer diary is a link to the Stellaris 3.3 Libra update feature video, and I'm going to link that down in the description below. So if you want to check that out, go and check that out. Basically, Unity has changed. You've got a whole lot of things you can now spend it on. It's much more important for your internal empire management. Factions now produce Unity. Leaders cost Unity, Unity upkeep, Unity to recruit. A whole host of changes right there. Much more importantly, though, because with a lot of these Unity changes, I do feel personally that they've changed some things, and at present, I don't quite see why, but we'll get to that later, what may be going on with that. But more importantly, there have been some massive and fantastic improvements to the AI. I've actually been playing a little bit the last day or two, and I definitely think the AI is quite a bit better than it used to be. So thank you, Custodian team, for that. That is, I think, the main benefit we've had from this update overall. And if you're enjoying this video, please release that like button. But the topic of this dev diary, so Libra is out, and now what? They are mentioning that, and this is mainly for new players, that the tutorial is going to be changing a little bit, and the early game experience has definitely changed, so no one get alarmed if there is a little bit of change there over the next few weeks. Meanwhile, patch 3.4 is just around the corner. Currently, they are planning it for May. The Custodian team is keeping up with their 3-month cycle. However, we must remember that this next patch is probably going to come with some sort of DLC release. They're going to be continuing to refine the balance around Unity and address some more feedback from the open beta and the 3.3 release. I can only hope and pray that they use some of this feedback, and if they really do want to give Tall Empires a fighting chance, they increase the penalties from empire size. But we'll have to see how that goes. They are going to be given situations which have been talked about as being somewhat equivalent to disasters in Europa Universalis 4, and they're going to be talking about the planned uses for them and all of that kind of stuff in some sort of upcoming dev diary in the very near future. But we've got no new details there, unfortunately. Influence and espionage. Now, with 3.3, influence is primarily a resource for external diplomacy. Also, you can use it to build gateways, habitats, and ring worlds. So basically anything that increases your living space or has some sort of effect externally in your empire. One of the changes they're planning for the upcoming May update is inspired by some of the feedback they've received during the Unity Open Beta, and that is the fact that influence, when you get to certain points in the game and for certain empires, is completely and utterly useless. You'll be completely capped out on influence if, let's say, you've expanded out and you can't claim anything, possibly because you're pacifist, or maybe you're a fanatic purifier and you can't claim anything there either. Well, you've got nothing to spend influence on until you research habitats and start spamming those. But they're going to be doing something about that. They're switching up the initial cost for espionage operations to influence rather than energy credits. This does, however, mean that the operational upkeep is going to remain with energy credits, so that's not changing. But you're now going to have to spend influence in order to do any of the espionage operations. Do I feel this is positive? I feel it is good that influence is getting more uses, and I think this might fit quite well with the balance of the game. In the early game, you want to spend your influence going out, taking more and more systems until you come up rubbing up against other empires. At that point, you either probably want to do something in a military basis, you're going to be doing claims and attacking and being aggressive, or you want to spend your influence in a diplomatic way. Well, now this may mean that you're able to spend your influence in a way that is not purely aggressive. You can use it to be doing subterfuge and espionage. Hopefully as well, we might get some expansion and improvement to certain aspects of the espionage system in the future, but we will just have to see. They've also made some improvements to the subterfuge tradition tree. They think that a focus on espionage can put some strain on your envoy supply or your envoy supply. I completely agree with that. So now the double agents tradition will provide one extra envoy in addition to increasing your maximum infiltration level by 10. That's quite nice. That's something definitely useful there. However, that's really nothing compared to the next two we're going to get to look at. Earlier in the tree, they've decided to add some combat benefits to represent the enhanced electronic warfare. They've written ECM and ECCM capabilities. Empires focused in subterfuge now have an easier time locking onto enemy ships, as well as foiling the attempts of others to do the same to them. They're adding plus 10 tracking to the operational security tradition and plus 5 to your chance to evade to information security. That's actually quite a big one, I think. Adding plus 10 to your tracking here could be really useful for battleships in the late game to stand up to high evasion destroyers. And adding chance to evade will be really useful for late game destroyers wishing to evade the shots of battleships. These are some very cool and very interesting changes to espionage. Do I think it puts it much higher up, put it up to S tier for traditions? No, probably not. But these are definitely some spicy changes they're throwing into the mix. Whereas at present, I would probably never really take espionage. If I was having some sort of aggressive empire, I've already taken supremacy and I've already taken unyielding, it could be I go for espionage next, so that would probably be around my 4th or 5th tradition, and get those bonuses to tracking and my chance to evade. Idyllic Bloom, or Idyllic Bloom, is getting an upgrade, a change, a sidestep, call it what you want. I think it's an upgrade and an improvement in 3.4. Currently, Gaia seeders can only be built on planets that match your planetary preference, which led to a play cycle where players had to terraform a planet before they were able to utilize this special building. Instead of that, now, as you unlock terraforming technologies, you'll be able to use and build the Gaia Seeders building on planets that are not your ideal type. And this is going to work all the way down to Tomb World. So basically, once you get terrestrial sculpting, you'll be able to build the Gaia Seeder on all planets of the same climate type as you. So let's say you're continental. That means you'll suddenly be able to build it on both ocean and tropical worlds. And the same is true for dry and cold planet types. Once you get to have the ecological adaptation technology, you'll be able to do it on any of the basic world types. So if you are a tropical world, you'd be able to build it on an alpine world or a desert world. It wouldn't matter. This is fantastic. And then finally, once you get climate restoration, you'll also be able to put it down on tomb worlds. This makes it so much easier and actually makes Gaia Seeders a lot more powerful. They have said, though, that they are going to be increasing the cost of buildings based on the tier of terraforming difficulty for this. So maybe it's going to be costed out, still be a little bit too expensive to really be up there as a valuable pick for one of your civics outside of being kind of a role play thing to turn everything into Gaia worlds. So we will have to see where the numbers end up there, but this is definitely a step in the right direction if you're a big fan of Gaia Seeders. And finally, finally, what else is coming? Well, they've given us this concept art. Now, what on earth are we looking at here? I have no idea. Honestly, it could be a lot of things. This could be some form of Colossus weapon, I've heard people say. It could also be a megastructure. I'm hoping we're getting a new megastructure, though I don't rightly know exactly what the new megastructure would be. This is concept art from the Crisis expansion team. Now, I love the naming conventions here. We've got the Custodian team there every 3 months, and then the Crisis team are building DLC for us. So they've been working on this. They're not ready to share exactly what's going on yet, but they have got this cool concept art for us. If you think you know what it is, or you have any ideas, please let me know down in the comment section. I would love to know. Some of you may have noticed that this video is about a day behind. Usually I like to release Dev Diary videos on the same day that the Dev Diary drops. Well, unfortunately, I've been unable to do that, and that is in some part due to the, and I'm going to call it what it is, ongoing humanitarian crisis in Ukraine. Now, if you want to support those affected by the conflict in Ukraine, I urge you to visit the link down below in the description. That will take you to a page to the International Red Cross where you can donate. And yeah, I'm not really going to say anything about what's going on there. There are lots of different political opinions, one side or the other. Please don't comment about it down below in the comments to this video. I'm going to remove any very polarized political comments about it. But I do want to say that whatever your opinion, it's a humanitarian disaster, and my heart really does go out to all the people out there. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Montu. Goodbye.